Hey everyone, it's Richard Metal Fan here, bringing you guys an old school album review. And as you can obviously see in the background, I have my dog Cleo right here. Another day in quarantine. But I'm going to bring you guys an old school album review. And this album has turned 35 years old this year, and it's from one of my favorite thrash metal bands. And I'm repping a shirt, so you definitely don't need to tell, as you can see below the title. Today we're going to be looking into Bonded by Blood by Exodus, the band's debut album, released on April 25th, 1985 through Combat Records. Now, Exodus doesn't really need an introduction. One of those early thrash bands that come from the Bay Area scene, along with like Testament, Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer. And they've formed in, it's hard to believe, 1979, longer than Metallica, and they pretty much had like a lot of different lineup changes from their formation right up until they recorded Bonded by Blood. They had like a couple different like vocalists. In fact, on this album, like the original drummer Tom Hunting actually was their vocalist until, of course, they got the late great Paul Bailoff, may he rest in peace. And Kirk Hammett from Metallica was originally part of Exodus, but he sort of left the band when he got recruited to join, and then had like a bunch of different live changes. And this album, from what I heard, this album was actually recorded the year prior in 1984, but it wasn't released until 1985, I believe, due to like some difficulties or something. Then this is pretty much when thrash was like really starting to get big and stuff. And and one could imagine how this band would be big if they pretty much was released when it was recorded. And I don't even know. And this album is probably a good way to start off their career. Here, start things off just on stomping, just say, hey, we're a new band. Just vocally, Paul Bailoff, in my opinion, I feel like he was a really good vocalist. It was a good vocalist. I can't even describe him. He's just, it's a shame that he's no longer with us, but he did a really good job right here. The guitar work is tight from Gary Holt and Rick Hunholt. Just both their like riffs and just like lead soloing that they do is pretty sick. The bass playing from Rob McKillop can do no wrong. The bass is pretty audible, and drumming wise, Tom Hunting can do no wrong on the drums. Like, he's, in my opinion, I feel like he's one of the best thrash drummers I've heard. So yeah, without further ado, let's dive into this album track by track. Now, starting things off is the title track, Bonded by Blood, which after a short intro, the title track sort of like kicks in straight into sort of like a machine gun paced riff and banging drums, and the song is just rather catchy, and the intro is no exception to that. Then the chorus is cool and contains some great lyrics. Great way to start off this album. And then we go into the band's own title track, Exodus, which again, this song is just straight into it, no mucking around. Another high-paced riff is met with some frantic drumming. And I feel like one of the little gripes I have, it's not like a complaint, I'm not saying the song is bad. I feel like the song's form is exactly the same as the Bonded by Blood, like the verse, chorus, two solos, and a verse. And it can get a bit tedious, but it's just thrash. It's not meant to sound the same. It's pretty good with some decent solos. Those and a great riff, but not at all sort of like memorable, but still a good song. I don't know why that doesn't make sense. Anyway, moving on to And Then There Were None, which is a simple slower riff accompanied by some drum fills at the start of the song. And I like songs like these, slower but with a killer riff. It's almost kind of reminds you a little bit of like Postmortem by Slayer. Here it's sort of like a sing-along, verses are a bit shocking, and the vocals aren't too good either. Thankfully, just like an excellent riff and killer solos, and the faster bit are all great, and makes this sort of like, in my opinion, the highlight of the album. Next up, we get to A Lesson in Violence, which is Exodus's most well-known song, in my opinion, and it's a terrific one. I know even like sort of like the screamy kind of like vocals in the song, and the triplet feel in the riff is both extremely fast, and it's mastered some fabulous drumming, and the solos are up to great standards here, and the first one is better, but they're both excellent. A fairly short song, but an excellent one at that. Then we move on to the next song on the album, being Metal Command, and this is one of the best thrash songs or speed metal songs you're ever going to hear pretty much, period. It starts off with a killer riff and some great drum work matched up with some excellent verse riff. Again, I don't really like the vocals, especially on this song. It just sounds weird, but it sort of like suits the style of the music, and the verses are matched with some catchy choruses on the album. It is exceptional, and the solos are very well thought out, perfectly in sync with the tone of the song, which and also has a great shred fest. Anyway, moving on to Piranha, which ignores like I feel like it has like starts off with like 4 seconds of just noise, which is just horrible. But and after that you get a good decent song, and the drums really just sound weird on here. And the song itself is kind of boring, but the vocals are kind of horrible right here. But the solos are pretty much at high standard and are probably the best on the album. Anyway, moving on to No Love, which I'm gonna be honest, I don't really care for this song. I mean, the acoustic intro is nice, but not necessary. It's sort of like slow thrash, and the only thing that saves the song, again, is sort of like the excellent level of soloing that goes on and the fast-paced music that accompanies it. And then we move on to the next song on the album, being called Deliver Us to Evil, which in my opinion is probably the epic of the album, clocking up at big like 7 minutes. This is just quite amazing, and unlike any other thrash artists who compose long songs. There's like no wussy bits in it. It's just all fast all the way throughout the song, with some very different great riffs and some unbelievable soloing. And again, I don't know, it's a pretty good song. And then we go into the last song on the album, being Strike of the Beast, which is the last song is a cool way to end it, starting off with a tricky riff and exposing to a frenzy of just pounding drumming and just screaming vocals. I like the vocals in this song, it fits very well. And the riff at like around a minute 45 is both fast and technical and extremely awesome. And this is the fastest song on the album, and is a great way to end it. Anyway, overall, Bonded by Blood by Exodus is a good way to start off this band's career. So if I were to give this album a score, I'm going to give this probably a solid 8.5 or a 9 out of 10. So yep, that's my review of Bonded by Blood by Exodus, guys. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about it, and I'll see you all in the next video. And as always, keep it metal.